India took the great gamble after India's independence, which no other country dared to. I will try to explain it. India started with a constitutional democracy immediately after independence, which is not the case with many other countries. We will dig deep into this and in comparison to other countries and know how it worked. The Indian anomaly in 1950, the world watched India with skepticism. Standard political theory at the time suggested that democracy was a luxury goods meant for wealthy, literate nations. Yet India defied the odds. Under the leadership of figures like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, India implemented universal adult suffrage immediately. At a time when literacy was below 20% and poverty was rampant, India didn't wait for economic benchmarks. It gave the poorest citizen the same voting power as the wealthiest industrialist. This was a democratic first, betting that political rights would eventually drive economical growth. Giving every citizen a right to vote, equal rights, and contribute to building a nation was a dream for independent India, because everyone fought for it. The Western path, incremental inclusion, to say that the US and the UK weren't democratic is a half-truth. They were democracies for the elite. While the UK, it took centuries from the Magna Carta in 1215 to the Reform Acts of the 1800s. To move from a monarch to a full democracy, they built their industrial wealth while only a small percentage of property-owning men could vote. In the case of the USA, while founded on democratic ideals in 1776, it was limited democracy. Economic power was built on the backs of enslaved people and disenfranchised women. Full constitutional rights for all citizens didn't truly arrive until 1965. Nearly 200 years after independence. For them, wealth came first. Broad human rights followed its waves. The East Asian model, the development state. South Korea and China provided the sharpest contrast to India. While South Korea from the 1960s to the 1980s, Korea was under military dictatorship. Like Park Chung-hee, they prioritized the miracle on the Han River, focusing on exports and education while suppressing political dissent. Democracy was only earned through mass protests in the late 80s after they became an economic tiger. In the case of China, China continues this path today. Its 1950s starting point was like India's, but it chose a centralized authoritarian model. The result? Faster infrastructure and poverty alleviation, but at the cost of individual liberties and a lack of constitutional checks. The comparison, China and Korea models are efficient. They can build a high-speed rail in a year because they don't have to navigate land disputes or protests. While in the case of India, India is slow because it is noisy democracy. However, democracy acts as a safety valve. In 75 years, despite famines, wars, and immense diversity, India has remained a single union. Authoritarian growth is often brittle. Democratic growth is resilient. India's choice in 1950 was the greatest gamble in political history. While the UK and US utilized a wealth-first approach and China utilized a state-first approach, India chose a people-first approach. True democracy will come to this country when no one goes hungry to bed. Often this quote was attributed to the Mahatma Gandhi. That was been our motto. We may have lagged in GDP growth rates in the early decades, But we built a constitutional foundation that doesn't rely on a single dictator or a single party. India proved that you don't need to be rich to be free. Rather, being free is the most sustainable way to eventually become rich. In the book The Discovery of India, Nehru takes that democratic values are foundational and non-negotiable. They provide the ethical and structural framework within which economic transformation must occur. Sacrificing democracy for faster economic gains would betray India's civilization ethos and the moral basis of the freedom struggle. He envisions an India that advances economically through democratic means, avoiding extremes of capitalism or forced communism. For instance, he discusses how India's ancient democratic traditions, like in some early republics or assemblies, and philosophical emphasis on individual freedom align with modern parliamentary democracy, which he sees as vital for uniting a diverse nation while pursuing economic and social upliftment. We should continue with the same zeal to build their dreams for ourselves and the future. Thank you.